Hello, Active Sage here on the Sage channel. It is Sleep, Art, Game, and Eat. And today we're taking a look at a ship I've called the Mongrel. And it's because during construction I had a fair few changes, so I decided, hey, it's sort of a mongrel to mix match of different things. And a mix match it definitely is in the fact that it started out very clearly with a Star Wars Star Destroyer in mind. I started building just the outline of it, decided I don't just want to build a Star Destroyer, let's stick on this sort of bump out here, which turned out to be the perfect housing, or at least I felt would be a good housing for the control room. And if you look through these windows here, you can see a fair few monitors there. Now if we fly around to this side, I'll actually give you a full spin of the whole ship first. So I'm going to fly about here to the back. You can see we have our huge engine array. Like usual, these engines have engines behind each other to give this ship far more forward propulsion than it would otherwise have. We have our communication arrays on the back, as I like to do. We have this opening here, which is actually the hangar. And if we fly in here, we have a few of our itsy bitsy ships that we built in previous video. And here we have some storage and stuff for repairing it. I'll show you the interiors in a minute. Let's fly back outside now. These ships are, of course, all docked to these side things for, well, basically so the crew can get in them, and they are all powered down at the moment. If we continue flying around the other side, this ship is mirrored left to right and largely top to bottom. But if we were to fly around here, you can see on each side of the ship we have these huge arrays of weapons, and basically we have them set up as this because each one has a 3x3x3, you know, basically cube around it that you can't put anything in it. But I wanted more firepower than just one missile launcher, so I stuck a second one back there on the ceiling. That way they could both fire forward, meaning this ship's main way of attack would be to fire at enemies to its side. So the ship would jump in, try to line up any other large ships to its side and unload on them, because this ship probably wouldn't do too well against small fighters, which is why it has its own accompaniment of small fighters to try to keep things from basically getting above it or behind it, where they could easily flank it. Now, if we were to fly around to the front, there's nothing else really here. It's just a nice little point, not really designed for ramming, even though it looks it. Let's actually fly up now, and I'll show you the bridge of the ship, and then I'll actually explain why this husk is sitting here. And let's get over here now. Here we go. And before I actually show you the bridge, it's a perfect time to show you this. And these are basically, it's a large hallway that has a bunch of these missile launchers basically set up to aim at any ships that basically get into this firing range. That way, even if this ship lines something up not exactly perfectly to the side guns I showed, it'll still probably be within firing range of these, and possibly you could even line it up perfectly so that those could be firing as well as both of those turrets there. Let's say if a ship was about right where I am right now, I bet you both those could maybe get a few shots off. Definitely right here they could. So this ship is very, very heftily designed to fire. And as I said, down here on the bottom, all these guns are the same as the ones up on top, except for, of course, they're upside down. And actually, where the control room area is, we just have more guns until we get to the very front, where we have this slightly different cowling, and that's designed to allow these two turrets to fire directly forward. The two turrets, oh, those aren't the only two turrets that can fire forward because of the slanting shape of this ship, the Mongrel. These turrets all here could pretty much fire forward at whatever this thing is deciding it wants to chase down, giving this ship, one of my first ships, to actually have pretty good forward firepower as well as side firepower. Anyway, now let's actually get into the control room area I said I was going to get into earlier. So let's fly down here, turn off my jetpack, get over here, and fly up into here. Here we go, and instantly you can see that we have two large stairwells leading down. These basically lead to the same place. I'll get to that in a moment, but here's the main control room. Again, very heavily inspired by a Star Destroyer, where we have a bunch of controls here for basically the people who run the ship. The main pilot's chair there is the only one that would actually be used in Space Engineers. The rest of these, of course, would give you a rather weird look at how to control a ship. But this one really quickly, I'll hop in there. You can see the statistics and the mass and all that on the bottom right there, just in case you want to see any of that. And actually, I'll start moving the ship a bit. This ship actually handles very, very well. You can see some lighting weirdness going on there. That's because the level of detail in the lighting shifts the farther away things get. But you can see this ship, even though it's so big, and even though it doesn't look like it's moving too fast, it's actually gotten up to around half the total speed. Now, if I continue with this turn, the ship actually turns very quickly and see it chugging a bit. And that is probably because the small fighters in the back have probably just sheared off, as does happen from time to time. Yep, there they all go, shearing off. Unfortunately, landing gears don't really work like you'd expect in this sort of sci-fi-ish world. They act more realistically, which is nice, I guess, but I'm not too keen on it personally, but, you know, I'm not the developer. They get to choose how things actually should be. Anyway, up here is basically where the highest ranking officers would be, where they would actually order the ship about and tell it where to go, overlooking their crew below them. Anyway, here, hold up really quickly. Let me actually stop the ship from spinning about. It's actually pretty easy. It's got so many gyroscopes. It actually, look at that. Pretty much instantly I was able to stop that spin pretty well. There we go. That's not too bad. Anyway, now it's time to go ahead and head down these stairwells, and I'm actually just going to head to the center point here first, and to the left, and this is sort of the command and crew respawn point for if anybody higher up gets killed, they respawn there. If we had gone down this way, this yellow path, it's basically a long drop into the inner workings of the ship, where you can see we have all of our gyroscopes and stuff stuck pretty much everywhere we could, where we've pushed some of them up to here. Originally they were all at that level, but I had to push them up to make room for all the power supplies that we have strewn all over the place. And if we carry down here really quickly, I'll show you that we have even more power supplies, even more gyroscopes stuck everywhere. So unlike most of my ships where there's a lot of dead space, there is still a fair bit of dead space here, but it's all actually filled up with stuff. Lots and lots of reactors, because I didn't really have any dedicated area for them. And then once we get to the back of the ship, you can see, like usual, I've stuck the engines facing inwards, and this is, of course, mirrored on the other side of the ship. So you can see how we're going to move up, down, left, right. And the reverse and stopping engines, if I fly around to here, you can see most of our reverse engines are actually down here at the very bottom of the ship. And if I carry on this way, we actually get to this door here, and I'll show you where that leads in a minute, actually from the other side. First off, you see this yellow thing though? It leads us back up to where we were. I've used basically these yellow pillars to designate up and down areas. That way I don't get too lost in here. And the area where I just got up to this place in the first place through the control room area should be designated by its own sort of yellow door setup. And I think it's actually over or down here. Maybe it's not. Maybe I've got myself lost. I've done it again. I've got myself lost. I would personally actually consider that a very good setup, because if you're not very familiar with the ship, like an enemy might be, they would hopefully not be able to find their way too easily through this to maybe board the bridge directly, which is one of the reasons I consider this to be a reasonable security risk. Anyway, hopefully you can lock these double doors. Anyway, we're back here now. If we head back down this way, we basically reach a point where if we go to the left, coming down that stairwell, and then make another left, we basically, head back basically the same way, except for this runs along the whole ship and links out to a bunch of turrets. And of course, this is the other side stairwell. They link up right here. And then out to this side, it actually links into a large passageway that goes down this way. The reason I'm not running down that is I'm going to show you in more detail what those are in a minute, using that little husk I had floating out there. Anyway, this down there leads to an armor area. I'll actually go ahead and show you that. And this is basically where, I call it an army, really. It's basically where you would store your spare ammo and everything for the whole ship. It runs along the very bottom of the ship. And right now, these aren't really full of any spare ammo or missiles or anything for all the weapons. But you could imagine in the future they would be full of all kinds of stuff. And it runs all the way to here. And these stairwells here actually lead back up into basically whatever this is, the main backbone of the ship. Anyway, I'm going to head back down here. I'm going to run all the way back down to here. And this basically leads down to the lower weapons array down here. And that's how crew would get up and down from these. And hopefully no enemies would easily get in here. Then again, if they did, I think they'd be trying to dodge these big turrets anyway. And of course, once they get up here, you'd have any people who are designated to continuously reload those weapons or keep an eye on this, instantly ready to shoot you in the face. Anyway, let's head back up here, and you can see this is the main hallway of the ship. I called the other one the backbone because it's a small main passage, not exactly for the most wonderful stuff. This is actually the main hall where most of the people would see. And you might have noticed while I was running about, down there a lot of that was yellow. That's sort of for armory repair, maintenance. A lot of this is red, and that's because this leads to all the turrets that are out there. And this is blue because this is a civilian sort of area. Now this one's yellow because this is sort of the crew's armory, where I have a bunch of guns stored in each one of these. Across the hall, this is white because we have our respawn area for the rest of the crew. This is blue because this is actually a sleeping quarters area here that I've set up as, you could imagine that would be a bed, that would be their restroom / changing area where they keep their personal goods. And so this is sort of, two-tier sleeping area, and it's on either side, as you can see here. Anyway, if we carry down this hallway to the very end, that actually leads us out to the hangar. Yellow, again, because it's going back to slightly more militant and it has storage here. And then red, because it definitely is militant. You can see all these ships. They, as I said, don't exactly follow sci-fi standards of once you've got a landing gear, your ship's sort of just secured to the other ship, and it's going to move however the other ship moves. They sort of torque and twist and end up getting pulled free and make a whole mess of things, which is rather unfortunate, I personally believe, but who knows, maybe they'll change it, maybe they'll leave it that way, and I'll just have to get used to it and start putting more landing gears. This room here, as you can see, green, is actually for sort of the mess hall and relaxation area. So this one would probably be the mess hall, and this one over here, the mirror of that room, would probably be the recreation area. Anyway, now that I've got that, I'm going to actually fly out of this ship, and I'm going to head over to, where is it, that big husk over there. And the main reason I have this huge husk over here is actually it's a cutaway of, as you probably guessed, the bottom half of the ship. So you can basically see the whole room set up. Now, back where we just were before we left was at the large hangar bay at the very back here. We flew out of it and flew over here. You can see basically just how many of those engines we actually have set up to keep the ship moving forward. Right here, you can see this is the mess hall area and the recreation area, the sleeping quarters. This is that big long hallway. You get the drift of it. And then down here, these are, if you head down that backbone hallway I was talking about, you can see we have some spare rooms here for more storage as they're color-coded yellow. The walls here are color-coded red because, as I said, this main backbone is for these little offshoots that lead to the gunning points, where you can see we have our double doors at each one of these, which are the airlocks, of course. Now, right now you're not able to see any lights down here because, of course, I've removed the ceilings. That way you can see all this, and that, of course, means no lights on the ceilings. No lights at all. Anyway, if down here you can see it actually narrows down, and usually when you're inside the ship it gets very cramped, and that's because, of course, the front of the ship narrows, and then you end up in this sort of area here where it's fully open. And then this is a large storage room that currently has no use. It's at the front of the ship, so I didn't really want to put anything in it for fear that it would be so easily destroyed if the ship happened to collide with anything. Anyway, I think that's about it. These large hallways here, by the way, that are offshoots of the backbone. You can see them shooting off there, and they also were the ones that I stepped into from here, from the stairwell area. They are actually another sort of backbone split, and I actually like the fact that they are horizontal, or not horizontal, pardon, but slightly diagonal in their design and run along the ship. Anyway, thanks a bunch for watching. This has been the Mongrel battleship, and I am pretty damn happy with it. I mean, pretty damn happy with it. I can't wait till they get weapons working in the game. I mean, big weapons like the ones that I have here. Hopefully they'll be AI targeted, and hopefully we can use something like, if we were to, let's say, press this button, the factions button up there at the top right. As you can see it next to the control panel, hopefully they'll be able to set ships with specific factions, so I could have this ship set as maybe red, duplicate it, have another one, get in it and set it as blue, and maybe these turrets would automatically target and fire at one another. That would be pretty cool. Also, it'll be nice once we get heavier armor, and I don't know if they plan to add it, but maybe one day we'll even see shield generators that maybe cover a few blocks around them, so you have to you'll have to spread them all about. Sorry about that cut, I completely lost my words there. But anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, okay, I was a lot closer than I thought it was. Yeah, big ship. God, I love this ship.